Every morning when I wake up, I'm ashamed to admit I check my phone. It's a habit I've tried desperately to break, but failed over and over. My alarm goes off on my phone, and sometimes I actually do put it down, but most days, before my brain is fully even awake or on yet, I scroll past aesthetic curations, humor content, news about war and shootings. The first thing I see, the day's divinity, was specifically chosen for me by a system that studies my patterns while I sleep.
Awake. Shake dreams from your hair, my pretty child, my sweet one. Choose the day and choose the sign of your day, the day's divinity. First thing you see.
Later in the day, while talking on the phone, or just talking near the phone, I see a targeted ad or a post that contains exactly what I was talking about. Before I go to sleep, I scroll again to decompress from a long day working behind a larger screen and find a video that literally says, okay, it's time to go to bed. You've been scrolling a long time. And some nights this creepy fourth wall break doesn't even wake me up from the scroll of doom. And another hour passes before I set the phone down, turn out the light, and then repeat the cycle. I know this is not a unique experience to me, but my experience shows that the digital world's engineering works so well that even self-awareness isn't enough of a push. This is me tasting the steak, like in the Matrix, knowing it isn't steak, and still enjoying it anyways.
You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. You know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
I know there is no spoon, yet I still can't seem to bend it with my mind.
Do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
Metaphorically speaking, that is. But how do we wake up, choose the red pill, when waking up means entering the Matrix and not the other way around? This is an excerpt from my dad's book, Architecture of Intelligence. There are two characters, Achilles and Tortoise. Achilles is ready for action, and Tortoise takes things more considerably, more of a systems thinker. Achilles: so you are saying the machine works perfectly, but it does the wrong thing? Tortoise: no, Achilles. I am saying the machine works perfectly, and therefore it cannot do the right thing. Achilles: that sounds like a paradox. If it works, it works. Tortoise: consider a knife that is sharpened until it can cut through anything. It is a perfect knife, but if you ask it to heal a wound, its perfection is exactly what makes it dangerous. We have built information systems that are perfect at cutting, at slicing attention into sellable units, but we need them to weave a society. And the Shannon trap you mentioned? It is a whetstone. It sharpens the blade of transmission while ignoring the hand that holds it. We have spent 75 years grinding the steel and 0 years training the hand to wield it with purpose. And now, my fast-footed friend, we are handing the knife to an algorithm. Achilles, looking at the telephone on the table: Shannon built this, or rather, he built the mathematics that made this possible. Tortoise: he built the physics of the channel, how to move a signal from here to here without losing it to noise. It is a remarkable achievement. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he knew exactly what he was not doing. He wrote the semantic aspects of communication, the meaning of what is transmitted, were irrelevant to the engineering problem. He bracketed meaning deliberately, clearly, and honestly. Achilles: and no one went back for the meaning. Tortoise: no one went back for the meaning. We built the telephone into the internet, into the smartphone, into the language model, each generation inheriting the architecture of the one before, each generation solving transmission problems with greater elegance and speed. We forgot that Shannon had parked a question outside the building. We assumed someone else had gone back for it. Achilles. No one did. Tortoise. No one did. And so, here we are, handing an algorithm the knife and wondering why it keeps cutting. The algorithm is not magic, just like AI is not intelligent in the way of the human brain. Like the AI we actually have, algorithms are much simpler than we think. They are based on probability, inherent knowledge, and retracing steps already taken. An algorithm is just a feedback loop. Your behavior dictates the output, your input compounds the information already present in the machinery, and you receive more of what kept you interacting in the first place. This applies to virtually, no pun intended, everything you use on your digital devices. Social media, YouTube, Spotify, Netflix, Google, news, dating apps, shopping, and AI. There is truly no escape. This trick has been adapted by these platforms to maximize the time you spend using them. TikTok, for example, doesn't actually present you with content you have actually shown it that you like. It predicts what you'll become interested in based on microbehaviors. So those include pause duration, rewatch rate, scroll speed. It's not reflecting you, the person behind the screen. It's building you, the user. The algorithms that currently curate our lives, the feeds, the search engines, the recommenders, are optimized for engagement on their terms. They look at the infinite wave function of human knowledge and ask, what is the most statistically probable next step? They force premature collapse. They collapse political discourse into outrage because outrage clicks. They collapse curiosity into addiction because addiction sticks. They collapse the infinite potential of a human mind into a consumer profile. They are teaching us to see the world like a series of transactions to be processed at the lowest common denominator. And they are doing it not through coercion, but through the grain, through the accumulated fluency of 10,000 interactions in which the machine's teleonomy, its author's teleonomy, was the strongest gravitational field in the room. When we talk about the architecture of intelligence, we are talking about the right to choose which version of the world we live in. Because if you don't design your own attention, the algorithm will design it for you. The algorithm's most sinister trick is what makes it the strongest. As you continue to scroll, to click, and to furrow your brow in thought for a second or two more than usual, the algorithm learns something about you. As it learns, the path through which you meander on the vast river of information narrows. Eventually, if you paddle far enough and often enough, you stop seeing outside your own loop. The algorithms observe everything, or they try to. They are very good at recording frequency, what appears most often, what is correlated with what tends to follow what. They are extraordinarily good at this, better than any human. But they don't wait by consequence. They don't have a purpose that tilts the landscape before they begin. They find what is statistically probable, not what matters. This isn't just a social media problem, but the whole architecture of algorithms. YouTube's recommendation engine has been documented pushing users incrementally toward more extreme content simply because it gets you watching longer. Watch enough of it, and people get radicalized. The algorithm doesn't actually have an agenda, just metrics. And anger, fear, and outrage are extraordinarily good at running up that number. Also, have you noticed that everything on Instagram started looking the same kind of around 2018? People, ads, furniture, captions, it's really eerie. It's not because people are out of ideas or no one wants to be original anymore. Algorithmic reward doesn't even pick the highest quality things. It picks what gets the most engagement. When enough people optimize for the same signal, the whole aesthetic ecosystem collapses into one monotonous drone of sameness. The road from a cooking video to a conspiracy theory is shorter than you think, and the algorithm paves it one autoplay at a time. I want to return to Arctic Monkeys to just reflect once more on the way that algorithms shape everything, but don't have to dictate creativity. So when they released Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino in 2018, which was the same year that Instagram started homogenizing itself, it was right after AM, 5 years after, but directly after that album, which was their most successful. They found a formula that worked. angular riffs, anthemic choruses, and songs built for festival crowds. However, they never aimed for success with Tranquility Base. They aimed for the moon. Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino was actually born out of Alex Turner's writer's block, which led him to look for new resources to draw from. He found films like Le Samurai and 8½" reflected his feelings of being trapped in a bubble of celebrity and the entertainment industry, and felt inspired to create a world where he could explore his own search for truth and meaning. He intentionally made space for himself to make something that reflected the way he really felt. The rest of the band stuck by Turner's side to allow for this new sound to take shape. This kind of artistic courage feels like betrayal to fans because their expectations are trained by the algorithm. They won't understand that an artist's refusal to comply with what is expected of them, whether what they produce is good or not, is part of the artistic journey. And I'm going to link below a particular video that outlines why this album is so great. It's not just social media, it's all the systems. Amazon tells you what to buy next. Spotify builds your taste for you. Netflix A/B tests its own thumbnails, showing you different cover art for the same film, depending on your watch history, because that helps them predict which version of the poster will make you click. Google's personalized search means two people Googling the same question get different answers. We all live in different realities. The through line is the same everywhere. They collapse political discourse into outrage because outrage clicks. They collapse curiosity into addiction because addiction sticks. They collapse the infinite potential of a human mind into a consumer profile. The algorithm sees you as a series of transactions to be processed at the lowest common denominator. It sees the most statistically efficient version of you. When we talk about the architecture of intelligence, we are talking about the right to choose which version of the world we live in. An excerpt from chapter 2 of my dad's book, titled The Trophy Story. 3 events had come together earlier in the summer before I left for college. First, I had a series of injuries and surgeries. I had Tommy John's surgery on my pitching elbow. I broke my collarbone playing football that impacted my ability to play hockey my senior year while my team went on to win the state tournament. Second, I read a series of books during the summer where I discovered there was more to life than sport, and it turned out I had a brain, not just a body. Third, I had an overwhelming sense of needing a life change, a reorientation of my psyche to more than a sport-obsessed parochial mind. That evening, my dad and I sat on the floor in my childhood home filled with trophies from a decade and a half of ice rinks, baseball and football fields, and field houses. Shelves of them lined 3 of the 4 walls. They represented real achievements, real memories, as well as a happy and constructive relationship with my father. But with my change in life direction, they had become something else too, artifacts anchoring me to an expired identity. We talked late into the night. My father listened. He asked simple questions. He created the space for me to pull the fear and uncertainty from deep within me. We examined it together as we had across countless other topics. Finally, after we had exhausted ourselves in conversation, he said, "Have a good sleep, horse," his nickname for me. The next morning, I woke to find the shelves bare. Every trophy, all 15 years of them, had been quietly packed away while I slept. This was not acrimony or an emotional response to an imagined rejection of the years we spent together. It was recognition that the context of my life had changed, as had the structure of our relationship, requiring a total system designed. I wasn't angry, I was relieved. In that silence, I understood what he had done. He hadn't destroyed my past. He respected it too much for that. Many of those sports teams, he had been the coach. He understood that for me to become something else, be it a lawyer, a thinker, a father, the weight of that information had to change. Those trophies were valid data. They were true. But in the architecture of my future, they had become noise. This is a man describing the morning he woke up and the algorithm wasn't there. Empty shelves were a gift from his father, the absence of curation. No one chose what you'd see next, not even a past version of yourself. You had to choose. This is what silence feels like after noise. Uncomfortable, absolutely, at first. Then, an opportunity to turn disorientation into actual thought. You have the knife in your hand, but this time its purpose becomes crystal clear. At this point, we're all pretty used to the phone bad speech. I'm not going to tell you to take a dopamine fast, delete your apps, or get a flip phone. And if you do, all the power to you, but that's actually not even the point. I discussed in my video, AI, the medium is the massage, how all mediums operate as extensions of ourselves. Marshall McLuhan, the scholar whose work is referenced heavily in that video, studied mediums and developed these ideas because of how irritating electric media is to our brains. Noise is static. It is disruptive and meaningless, yet our instinct is to assign meaning to it. Knowing how to consume and what to consume, knowing to distinguish the noise or the massaging effect of the medium from what isn't noise, so the message of the medium, is the literacy we must all come to realize. The algorithm itself has been embedded across every medium we interact with. The good news is, it is less of a distortion of the message and more of just a speeding up and heating up of every medium. And the point of this explanation, because I know this is a lot of academic nonsense to most people, which is perfectly fine, the key is literacy. Simply knowing that the machine exists changes how you move inside it. And then once you make room, the empty shelf awaits. And what would you put there?
One more thing. Thank you, O Lord, for the white, blind light. A city rises from the sea. I had a splitting headache from which the future is made.